Hey y'all, so this is a new video of my round 2 game in my most recent tournament. We're going through all four. If you haven't already, you should go back and watch the first one. It was a very good game, but in this game, we're going to give you some insight. I won the first game, so I have 1 point out of 1, and I'm fighting a 1950 who is 400 points higher rated than me in USCF, and we're on board 1. So let's get into the game already. My opponent starts off the game with d4. I normally play knight f6 here. My opponent goes c4. I go e6. And my opponent decides to go knight c3 and get into my Nimzo Indian, which is very interesting since I don't think I've ever had this over the board. Yeah, I don't think I've ever played a Nimzo Indian over the board. So it's already off to a pretty good start. And my opponent just decides to go with e3, which is a line. This is normally goes into Rubinstein variations. I castle. My opponent goes a3, and now we transpose into a samish after the move c5. This has all been played before many times. I don't really have to think very much here. I'm just trying to remember my theory. My opponent goes bishop d3. I go knight c6 pretty quickly. The idea of the samish is that I'm going to go here, target the c4 pawn. My opponent is going to try and take a big center with moves like e4 and f3 in some lines, and the knight is either going to come out to g3 or f3. And there are many lines here, like for example, one silly move, if he goes e4, a lot of the time, actually in this position I just have like some line here, which is pretty fun, but a lot of the time I'm going to go knight e8 after the move e4, just to prevent any bishop g5 stuff, which is always fun. Anyway, my opponent goes off with knight e2, a very reasonable move. I go b6, this is the top engine line. Everything has been played before, of course, castles. I go knight a5. It's not the best move. It's not the best move because I should have gone bishop a6 first. But really, it's the difference of 0.1. So I'm not that ashamed that I went knight a5 first. The move order here doesn't really matter all that much. My opponent goes knight g3, and already I'm winning. Already I'm winning after bishop a6. I'm winning versus a 1950 in a USCF game. Someone 400 points higher rated than me. If I win this game, I believe I gain like 45 points, which would be pretty insane. And bishop a6, and I'm already about to win the pawn. I'm about to win the pawn because after this move, I have simply cd, rook c8. That's it. That's already like game over. Like this position is really good for black. I'm just up a pawn. I'm gonna get into this probably, and what's going to happen is eventually I'm just going to win this game. I have a minus 0.7 advantage, and I'm going to win. But instead of me doing that, I forgot my line, and I went for a different line. Not a very good line, but a line that's seen in a couple other variations in the same ish, where I end up trading off my knight for his dark sword bishop with the move knight to b3, and I promptly lose all of my advantage. This was really stupid, but in reality I just mixed up my lines. Very annoying. I'm gonna have to work on that later. And remember, very simple dc5 rook c8, which is a line in my prep, but I haven't like seen it like ever, so I didn't really remember it. Either way, rook b1, I take on c1. My opponent decides to take with the b rook, which is interesting. I would have probably taken with the f rook, maybe, just keeping some pressure on this pawn, and then I can't really ever take because then the rook is already here. I don't know, I would have done that, but my opponent takes with the b rook, it's fine. And I play d6, which is another interesting idea in my theory. The idea being that I need to extract this bishop from a6, and there's an idea to go e4 and bring the bishop out through c8. That's kind of the biggest idea. I mean, e5 and bring the bishop out through c8. My opponent goes knight e4. I think for a while here, because this move kind of caught me off guard, and I end up capturing the knight with a very interesting idea. I thought about a lot of things here. Like I thought about like even playing this move e5 immediately, with still the idea to go here, and you can't really take because then these pawns are weak for the rest of the game. But in all honesty, I kind of liked my queen being on d8, and I didn't want to like even have him have the option of taking. So I ended up taking on e4, which is the best move. My opponent recaptured the bishop, and my idea here was to play rook b8, which is one of the best moves. The idea is actually quite simple. First of all, my rook is being attacked. I want to move it. The only square to move it to is b8. c8 to me doesn't really make that much sense. Actually, it didn't make much sense to me during the game, but now I'm looking at it after like rook c8, I probably have like this idea and just open up some sort of like attack. But I don't know. I mean, his rook is defending the pawn from there. It could get complicated. I'm not sure. Rook b8 is fine. My opponent drops back because I was threatening probably like e4 stuff. So he drops back. I go e5, which is one of my ideas. I'm always keeping a small advantage on the position, and I'm keeping a very decent advantage on the clock. In most of these games in this tournament, I'm always up around like 10 minutes on the clock, which is very, very nice, but I should be spending a little more time. Obviously, the idea of this, I want to bring my bishop back. And he can't really take on e5. Taking on e5, to me, seems like positional suicide, because you have these terrible, terrible isolated pawns, and they're just going to be a weakness in all endgame, although the engine thinks it's fine for some reason. I don't really understand, but whatever. My opponent doesn't take on e5 because he thinks that it's ridiculous, and he instead plays a bad move. He plays the move f4, which gives me more of an advantage. And I don't think you're very long, because my idea was always the same. I wanted to play queen e7. This is kind of what I was going to do in reality. So I just spent like less than a minute on this move. And of course, after takes, I'm going to get my queen in, pressure this pawn, my queen centralized. He might have something like rook c4, but I can just drop back in all lines. I get my rook to this file. I should be better. I should probably even be winning in that line. So I didn't really expect him to take, and he doesn't. He plays queen f3. And now I'm actually in the driver's seat. I'm actually already with a very, very good position, and I can try to focus on winning the game immediately. And I play the second best move. I play a very good move, ef4. A low level engine thinks it's the best. Depth 20 engine actually thinks that taking on d4 is very, very, very slightly better. I obviously didn't want to do this because of this. I mean, why am I undoubling his pawns? That seems kind of ridiculous. I guess probably CD, and then like, I don't even know, rook fe8 or something, and I take control. But at the very least, I thought, like, I'm not gonna trade my queen for 2 rooks. I don't know. This position didn't seem as good to me as the other one, so I didn't go for this. And I ended up taking on f4 after I realized briefly that he can't take back with a queen, because queen f4 I thought just ended up in d5, and I'm picking up this pawn. I'm correct. And that's always very nice when I'm correct, but like here, like I'm minus 1.2. I'm easily better here. I'm easily better here because these pawns won't be doubled for long. Like the only way that he can make the pawns doubled is with this move, and then like, I mean, rook fe8, this pawn is weak. I have this move incoming. Like if he takes here, I'm just easily winning, and everything seems hunky-dory. What happens during the game, he of course takes back with the pawn. Here I decided to bring my bishop back, which I thought was natural. Bring my bishop on this square, targeting the queen. This is obviously a bad move, because then these pawns are locked permanently, and they're just like a weakness for the rest of the game after something like queen f6. Now, what I should have done here, I should have probably just played. Actually, CD is the computer's top choice, which is very interesting. And then I'm going to bring my rook here and start piling on the pressure. But actually, wait, what does it want for me? What does it want from me? It wants rook fe8. It wants to control this. What after this? Queen f6. Okay. Yeah, so it just wants me to like slowly increase the pressure, but I didn't really ever want to do this, simply because like I thought that my whole advantage was in his doubled pawns. That's kind of where I thought my advantage lied, and I didn't want to undouble his pawns, which is pretty natural. A move I could have considered here without undoubling his pawns is move Rook B8, which is kind of crazy, just trying to come in and trade queens. After this, probably just Queen F6, and I have pressure. But either way, that didn't happen. Takes Bishop B7. One of my couple inaccuracies of this game. My opponent plays Queen F2, dropping back with the queen. Now I go Rook B8. This is a top engine move. I'm still keeping a very, very slight advantage. And in reality, I'm trying to look for a way to win this game right now because I obviously sense that I'm better, right? Like, I have I have a very strong bishop and he has these awkward doubled pawns, so I must be very, very slightly better here. So I'm always trying to find a way to like just beat him right now. I want to beat him. Yeah, but my opponent goes Rook C1, Queen F6, of course. Now I have targets on the pawns. Takes. He decides to trade all the rooks, which is interesting. I recapture. And here I should have spent no time and went King F8. Like, that would make the most sense. I'm obviously stopping mate. And this pawn is never hanging because, of course, G6 would trap the bishop. But for some reason I didn't do that. And instead I went for an interesting line. I played Queen E6 here. Not the best move, offering a queen trade. After a queen trade, I thought that I had very good chances to win this endgame in this bishop endgame because these pawns are always weak and this bishop always has to keep defending. I can even like put all my pawns on dark squares and just walk my king up, try to get something to happen there. I thought I had a good chance to win that endgame. He apparently did too, so he went Queen F2, which is a bad move, giving me the advantage back. And is here the... Yeah, no. Here's not the move that I played. That was horrendous. I played G6 here. It's a bad move, but it has a very reasonable idea. I want to stop the move F5. I'm F5. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think maybe F5 myself could have been slightly better to stop F5. The computer still wants King F8 and just like walking around like allowing this, but I don't know. I didn't see this Queen H6 idea, so you know, maybe I could have found it if I had thought a bit harder, but whatever. I just played G6, want to stop the pawn from going. He goes H3, which I didn't really think did anything. I mean, it makes luff for his king. That's the whole point of it, but I didn't really like this move at all. And here I played the most stupid move of my entire life. I played... Oh, I'm so mad about this move. It's just so stupid. I played Bishop E4 without calculating everything, and like... I mean, this is ridiculous. Like, I saw the line. I saw what he had, but I just, for some reason, I went for this anyway. I'm like, I want a bishop trade. I really want a bishop trade. And of course, a bishop trade is winning for black. Like, yes, a bishop trade is winning, but he doesn't have to do that. First of all, what I calculated was, of course, this. I would just take on D3, and this position is much better for black because I can, like, immediately start targeting everything. Actually, Queen E6 is the best move here. Very interesting. No, Queen F2. Queen F2 is the best move here. That makes more sense to me. And that would obviously be winning. But what I had seen and what I had just like shrugged off and why this move is so stupid is the move D5, which he played pretty quickly. And it's obvious what this move does. I have to drop my queen back. Now he pins my bishop. He's threatening to win it. I have F5, of course, the only move. And stupid me. I just played this so poorly. He takes my bishop. I have to recapture the pawn. If I recapture with the queen, I'm in big trouble here because his king is faster, and this is just a losing endgame. Right? He wins the pawn. You don't want to allow that, obviously. So pawn takes, and now I have a weakness, and this position is just I just lost all my advantage. My opponent plays G4. I play Queen A4, and what happens here? We make a draw. I offered a draw here to my opponent, and he agreed, which is anticlimactic, but yeah, what my idea here, I thought, okay, well, I would, at the very least, I would just give him checks into infinity, right? It's a 0-0-0. I have a perpetual here. Like, there's no way for him to make progress. As you could see earlier, it was like at plus point 0.3. Now it's just a 0, 0, 0. I was right. It's a draw. He has nothing better than take the pawn, and then I have a perpetual. So I might not have a perpetual, but like, I mean, this is probably fine. Like here, I can even take on f4 with check, and yeah, I'm doing quite well. So my opponent just decided to make a draw here, and I'm very glad about it because I don't think I could have won that endgame. And yeah, that's a draw versus a 1900 rated player who's 400 points higher rated than USCF. And if you take 1900 to like chess.com, a 1900 on chess.com would be like a 13 or 1400 over the board. But 1900 over 1900 USCF would be like almost like I believe like 23, yeah, like 23 or 2400 on chess.com. So this is a very good win for me, and hopefully I'm gonna be winning a lot more of these games versus these strong opponents. And well, yeah, that's all I have for you today. This game, if you want to know the percent accuracy, White played at 95.4%, and I played at 95.7%, which is a pretty good game. But yeah, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you found this entertaining, instructive, all of the above. Remember to like, subscribe if you haven't already, and do all the normal things YouTubers tell you to do. Yeah, good evening and good night.